It's only when you don't have a beard, though.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Coming to you from the Baker Law Group, Studio 107, it's SOL. Live, raw, and uncensored. With your host, Drew Baker. Shake
That
and Bake.
just happened.
Matt Dixon, the Iron Man. A podcast dedicated to protecting your rights by exploring the law, politics, and current events. You have the right to remain silent and listen or call in and become a part of the show. And now, here's your host, Shake and Bake.
Welcome to the SOL podcast. I am your host, Shake and Bake. We are back, and we are back before season 4 has begun for another bonus episode because we've got this stuff in the works, everything from new photographs to new intros and outros and all kinds of stuff happening, but we can't really go full force into season 4 until it's all done. On the other hand, we can't just sit around and not talk to anybody. So
Too much going on.
Too much going on. We have to come back for more and more bonus episodes. And we always like a good, solid
Free-for-all Friday.
That's right, Free-for-all Friday. I'm joined by co-host Mr. Matthew Dixon. How you doing today, Matthew?
Oh, fantastic.
The Iron Man.
Yeah, speaking of Ironmans, just did a half Ironman last weekend. So there were a few days that were touch and go after that. But I think we're about at 90% now.
Did you say a half Iron Man? Is that like you're not a full man?
Correct.
Or
Yes, I'm only half.
only
of
a half.
An Iron Boy.
I'm an iron
Iron-
half man, half robot. I don't know.
Okay, all right. Half Iron Man. But no, nonetheless, I have only done one. You've done like 10, and it's a massive accomplishment, and your time was fantastic. 4
Thank you.
hours and 55 minutes, maybe?
That's correct.
Yeah, all right. And, of course, we're joined by the one and only Special K. How are you doing today, Special K?
I'm doing good. Happy to be back in the studio with you guys.
Back for the Free-for-all Friday. With that mishmash of ideas and topics that we're going to be covering today, I can't really put my hand or finger or whatever on one particular topic. So we're going to cover a little variety pack, if you will.
A little potpourri.
Potpourri, confetti. Yes. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Verbal, Pandora, all the podcast forums out there. We'll put that up after we're done with our live stream today, which is on YouTube. Haven't been kicked off yet. Only a matter of time, I'm sure. And I think that maybe next season we'll have to find a new platform based on some of the discussions we've had about topics we will be covering. But nonetheless, if we have to send it on email, I guess we can do that too. So we'll figure it out. But nonetheless, we should probably disclaim a few things, maybe.
Good idea.
You think? We're just going to get this out of the way right now. Remember, SOL listeners, the views and opinions expressed on this show are meant for entertainment purposes only and are not to be construed as legal advice. There is no way, in any way, we are creating an attorney-client privilege. That's right. As always, no attorney-client privilege, but that just opens up the entire platform to whatever we want to discuss today, which is good because there's a lot going on, a whole lot going on. And I think first up on the chopping block today is Iron Man, correct? You can hit it first?
Sure.
That's what I thought. All
No
right.
problem.
So what do you want to talk about?
I can handle that.
Well, free for all Friday.
I'm going to stay local. My inclusion into the potpourri of topics today
Yes.
is going to deal with the increase in lawlessness across Central Ohio. Now, as you've probably all seen on TV and the news, anywhere, that this is really widespread throughout the country.
That's not true. Are you sure about that?
Only from what I see on
It's mostly
TV.
peaceful lawlessness.
Yeah, peaceful.
That's what I
lawlessness.
thought. It was peaceful protest.
It just got me to thinking, though, what's happening here in Columbus, and let's talk a little bit about that briefly. So, one of the major things that I saw in looking into this topic is surprising is vehicle thefts. And vehicle thefts are way up, almost 25% on the year. That's like an additional 400 to 500 vehicle thefts in 2021 versus 2020.
Wasn't there that gang going around at some point this was brought up at some venue along the way with the news broadcasting locally was talking about there was a group of kids that were out specifically with the I guess the goal to steal cars.
Yeah, so Columbus police essentially said they believe the increase is mostly due to, teens, what they believe are teen gangs or teens out there out and about doing some bad things. So, there's one other statistic in particular. This was an interview from yesterday, and a Columbus police lieutenant said that in July alone, there have been 477 reports of stolen vehicles, and that there's still a tremendous amount of unreported incidents, like people just don't come forward for one reason or another. So like that's just the reported incidents. There's nearly 3,000 vehicle thefts in 2021 so far.
Jeez.
In Columbus.
Wow.
City of Columbus, yeah. So they've only been able to file charges in about 127 of those 3,000 cases.
That's
so
a lot
far.
of cars floating around out there that don't belong to the person that's driving them.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. But they're essentially talking about, teens that are out there on the streets that aren't being supervised, and they're just out, wreaking havoc on our community and causing problems. And I don't know if that's a part of, directives toward Columbus police to step down from, making arrests, and we'll actually get into that too in my potpourri section. But
what about the concept of maybe during COVID, there was a lot less of a structured environment given that the kids were not in school.
Certainly.
And therefore the troublemakers could recruit some additional troublemakers maybe.
Well,
and
idle hands,
bored.
right? Idle hands.
Yeah. They're just bored.
Yeah.
Not that would be the recommendation. You're bored as a kid, go out and steal a car. But I mean, certainly when you go to school from say 7 a.m. till 3 p.m, you're probably not stealing any cars during that time. You've got other things that are keeping you occupied, sports or whatever it is. But that, to me, that seems like that could definitely be one reason. I don't know if they're citing that at all, but
well, it goes hand in hand with this other topic, which is related, similarly. Anecdotally, when you talk about, vehicle thefts, had a friend, business owner, had his truck, a trailer, all the equipment on the trailer, over $150,000 altogether. When you include all the value of everything he had, from
that's a lot.
Front bumper to the back of the trailer.
Yeah.
It was stolen from his business. He has it on video. He has clear video, not that pixelated 1982 CCTV
Not your typical
video.
surveillance.
No,
I can't say that word apparently today,
Yeah,
but
surveillance. No,
Thank you.
perfectly clear video has the offender. Actually has LoJack on the vehicle, followed the vehicle to the individual's house where the person got out of the car and went in his house. So my friend calls the police and says, I just followed somebody who stole my business vehicle and equipment, followed them to their house. I have video of them getting in the truck, taking the truck, getting out of it, and walking to their home. And the police said, just take your vehicle and go back. We're not
going through hell. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. That's where I'm going with that one. That's
mean,
amazing. Why would they?
Yeah. So there's another issue with like small, minor, nonviolent crimes where the Columbus police have been given a specific directive now from the city to not make arrests in those cases. So you've probably seen videos of people doing, shoplifting at stores in other cities, and they show the videos. They just
California, they can just go in. I think it's $750 or $900. And
I thought it was $900 was the cap.
Yeah. The security guards stare at them as they're walking out with handfuls and cartfuls of merchandise.
So are we next? And I hate saying that
we
because
did
I said that
one
about
other
some
time,
other
didn't we?
issues.
I was going to say, wasn't there another time where you said, "Are we next?"
Well,
I think it was the COVID vaccine mandates for probation.
Yes,
the
judicial
the next
probation.
day, as a matter of fact, I think. Yeah.
So essentially, Columbus police officers were given a directive not to make arrests for those kinds of crimes at all, so that they could focus on the more violent crimes and deal with those issues.
What I like about that, especially when it's brought to the public's attention, is it, would definitely discourage people from committing those crimes when they know they're not going to be prosecuted.
Correct.
Probably the most, clear course to take at that point is, I won't do that. Or wait, Could it go the other way?
No, I
too?
don't think so. I think now that they know they wouldn't be arrested, there's
They
no
probably
reason to
won't
do
do
the
it.
crime. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
part of it is
That
the
makes a lot of
exhilaration
sense.
of am I
Yes.
going to be arrested today or not?
There's no game in it at that point,
Right.
right? You've taken all the fun.
Yeah, all the
out
risk
of
is
it.
gone,
Yeah, no
so
risk,
it's
no
really not
reward.
appealing anymore.
Yeah.
What's the part of the car? I hear about this a lot in Columbus. There's something underneath your car. It's like,
Catalytic converter.
yeah, I keep hearing that those are getting stolen.
So that was
Bunch too.
That was a huge issue at Alum Creek, apparently. There would be trucks and cars parked there late into the evening. They've actually closed the park now at 9 p.m. They closed the gates to the beach because a ton of vehicles had gotten their catalytic converters stolen out of their cars.
I heard
I'll
it's
give
'cause
you
they're made of
$5 if you
platinum.
can tell me what that does.
I have no
It's
idea.
something
Exactly.
with the muffler.
Yeah.
Because that's why I asked them. I was like, "How would I
Why
know
would
if
you
mine got
steal it?
stolen?"
Why would you steal
It's
it?
made
worse.
of platinum, so they can turn around and sell it for like whatever. the,
Kelsey's exactly right.
It's kind of like stealing copper out of
Kelsey's exactly
can I quote
right.
you on that?
You
Thank
can. But
you.
it's the first time in a long time. Anyway.
So, for me, that's really dangerous, right? What does that mean? Does that mean as a business owner or as a customer, I got to defend myself in those scenarios where these people are in a store? They're stealing my property. What's the difference between going in there and demanding cash out of a register or just taking stuff off the shelf? To a business owner, it's the exact same thing, right?
It's all coming from the top down where the police are being told, don't do your job, or focus on other things. But in reality, it's being advertised. It's almost like when the media ask, and this happens, it's the most ridiculous question in the world, but they'll ask, a general, so where do you think you're going to be dropping that dirty bomb here soon? Could you tell us the location? And it's like, why would we ever tell you that? Because then those
Right.
people can prepare for it. It's the same concept here. We're saying, hey, we're not going to be doing these things in terms of prosecuting these crimes. So, I mean,
have
at it. And it's coming from the top down. I don't think you can point your finger at the cops here because they're just doing what they're told to do
So as a business owner,
or not do. I should
as a
say.
business owner, somebody's, shoplifting in my store. I confront them. We get into an argument. I pull out my firearm and I hold this person at gunpoint and call the police and say, "Where are you?" Are they coming at that point when they know there's a firearm involved?
Yeah,
Or
to
are they
come
still
get
going
you and take your gun from
are they
you.
still
I
going to
think
leave?
you're the one in trouble at that
Yeah.
point is what
Yeah,
it almost
don't-
seems like. 'cause
I don't
you're
know.
gonna say it's property damage and
I don't know. And not if you confronted the person and now you feel that you're not safe.
Oh, I mean, I agree with you, but it's just one of those things that it's going to definitely result in more conflict like that, where people are going to step in with their own firearms. And if we're so worried about guns and everything else,
Right.
I think you're encouraging that too.
Well, and I think that this has a worse effect on sort of the mom and pop shops who can't afford their own private security, right? Like the large stores have security forces there, theft prevention officers, so they have things they could do. Small shops don't have that. So really it's another assault on small business in that respect where you're not going to be doing that. All right. So another issue that we've all seen are illegal dirt bikes and all-terrain vehicles up and down the streets.
What
in
is
the city of
going on?
Columbus.
I mean, any given day down High Street,
Yeah.
you see dirt bikes. And the craziest thing for me, a dirt bike is obviously designed to not be on the road. And I'm not even sure, I don't know this one way or the other, if you can get a plate for a dirt bike. Maybe you can. But these bikes that we're referring to, they never have any plates on them whatsoever.
So you can't with a dirt bike. A, typically they don't have a headlight or a taillight. And
Oh, that's a good
B,
point,
they
yeah.
don't have turn indicators or mirrors.
Right.
So technically speaking,
They're not
unless
a
they have
legal
those
vehicle
items,
on the
yeah,
road.
that's
Yeah.
why you can't get a plate for those vehicles.
But here's the kicker. The best
Yeah.
one is this sport ATV. Now I'm a quad owner. I have a quad. I've had the same one for like 8 years. I use it for, in essence, farm purposes and to ride around when I go out into the woods and hunt and whatever. But there is I see a red one on a rig. I don't know if it's the one you've been seeing, but there's a red, what looks to be like a sport quad. It's not really like a outdoorsy Tractor Supply kind of quad. It's more of a sport quad flying down the streets. But then to add a little more carnival aspect to it, they're doing wheelies and,
Yep.
coming up on the sides. And I mean, there's cars like all around them, in front of them, behind them. And I'm thinking, how is it that these people are on the street and nobody's doing anything about it?
anything whatsoever. And I'm up in the short north. I see this all the time. It's not one or two. It's like, I don't want to call them a gang.
I was going to say, is it
let's call it 10, 15 vehicles, a mixture of sport utility, vehicles, ATVs, the small little motorcycles. I don't know what those are called, but they're like quarter the size of a regular motorcycle, dirt bikes. And they're weaving in and out of traffic. They're doing wheelies. They're doing burnouts. Now, look, if you're somewhere having a good time and there aren't other vehicles or pedestrians, that's fun. I get it. But this is extremely dangerous.
Oh, my God.
There's people everywhere. All you do is lose control, ride off onto the sidewalk, and you've now run over like 8 people. So, you and I, Shake and Bake, we just talked about this. We saw this the other day in a meeting. There's an ATV coming on South High Street doing a wheelie through a red light with a Columbus police officer behind him with his lights on in pursuit. The ATV goes through the red light and the police officer terminates the pursuit and stops at the red light.
Almost as if he had
turns his lights off.
Almost as if he had called in and
they said,
called it in and they said, just leave it alone.
Which is funny because they had just announced that the city was going to crack down on this. They were going to start increasing penalties and fines and impounding vehicles. This couldn't have been less than a week after that announcement.
Yeah, as a driver, the day that they came around me, to your point, there was probably 10 or 12, different vehicles in this particular group of sport gang, whatever you want to call them. And they were all around my truck. So, I mean, if I needed to get over, it causes such a panic for the driver because, one, it's very noisy. You're not expecting it. You're trying to figure out what's going on. How are these vehicles even on the road? And as a driver, you feel completely threatened, not necessarily for you as much. I don't want to hurt somebody else, but you feel like you're going to run into them because they're absolutely out of control. They're not driving, in a safe manner by any stretch of the imagination. This is like, literally, it's like something you would see if you went to a show to watch people do tricks on these types of vehicles. Yeah. It's insane.
Well, and if you go back to May 10th of this year, there was a pretty serious, and I'm sure there are many accidents and many examples. This one sticks out. May 10th, corner of Broad and James in East Columbus. And a similar, group of riders were blowing through a red light, and a motorist coming from the other way who had a green light ran into one of the ATVs.
Yeah.
And that ATV driver had some critical injuries.
Yeah.
The SUV driver could have lost control and had a much more serious injury or issues with themselves. But that just goes to show, safety is a real concern. These groups are just blowing through red lights. They're doing a lot of unsafe things on city streets in large groups of people, and they're doing it to show off.
Oh, that's absolutely a show-off move, and they're not being even remotely prosecuted for it or ticketed for it. And it doesn't make any sense.
There have been calls for it. I know that there's been some, the city's made some statements they're going to start doing anything about it, but I'm still seeing this all around town and not one police officer anywhere around to come in and do anything about it. And they're just going up and down High Street. Like, it's not like you have to go far to find them. It's pretty easy. So, all right, maybe more grumpy old man.
But I think he did like 3 topics.
Yeah, just taking over the whole episode.
I told you it was potpourri, okay? It's just a bunch of little topics. But this is grumpy old man status, but it really chaps my ass.
Okay.
Is this technically illegal? Yes. Do I care about the illegality? Not so much. Get your damn electric scooters off the sidewalks. Off the sidewalks. Way too dangerous. There are pedestrians. There's people coming in and out of businesses. You're doing 14 miles an hour on a sidewalk that's barely 2 people wide. And you're expecting people to just get out of your way, know that you're coming from behind them. It's hard enough to try to run on those sidewalks, let alone do 14 miles an hour on a scooter.
Well, not to mention, and you obviously called the fun police before you made that comment because you've just stripped everything that was fun out of downtown because you can't be on the sidewalks anymore unless grumpy old man's in town. He'll be yelling at you, "Get off the sidewalk!"
Well, and I don't say anything to anybody. But I don't say anything to anybody.
Dirty looks.
But I'm super I'm really tuned in to, are these people on the sidewalk in front of me, behind me when I'm walking around? I actually look for it because they're not really responsible. They're just not responsible riders, and I have to be aware of that. But most people are not, and they get surprised when one of these scooters flies by them. What if they were to scoot left, lean left, right, whatever it is, they move just a little bit on that sidewalk and they get clipped by one of these things? Both parties are going to end up with pretty serious injuries from that.
And they can call the Baker Law Group.
That's right. This could be unfortunately, and it has actually become, in all seriousness, an issue downtown. When they first introduced these, there was like no, do you remember that? There was really no introduction to the scooter thing. It just showed up one day. Yeah. Like, we were down here and I'm like, What are those?
I
They're like
remember
scooters.
I was in Dallas and we were noticing all these hundreds of
Yeah.
scooters in Dallas. When
They
we
just
flew
showed up.
back to Columbus, we get off the plane, we go downtown, and we're like, wait,
Yeah.
these weren't here when we left 3 days ago. Where did they come from? And there were hundreds of them.
Oh yeah, and it was so interesting because it's almost like the city knew they were coming to the streets of Columbus, but not only did they just kind of just ignore it as far as the advertisement part of it, but zero mention of any rules. Like you would think the news would have picked that up and said, okay, here's the rules with the scooters if you're going to
Right.
use them downtown. Nothing. It was a free for all Friday.
Yes.
But every day of the
Free
week
for all every day.
with the scooter thing. Yeah,
Well,
that is crazy. And there's been a lot of really bad injuries and accidents from scooters all over the United States, not just here in Columbus, but
Yeah.
we see these forums that come in through the American Association of Justice. And there was one not too long ago that talked about just this issue with no training on these scooters, no rules on these scooters, and people being hurt, serious, if not killed. A couple of people have gone in front of cars, obviously lost control, been run over, killed. It's amazing that there hasn't been more litigation or more regulation of that. But yeah, it's a dangerous thing. It really is.
Well,
But
that,
you were just talking with the other vehicles that you were complaining that are on the road. You said that they shouldn't be allowed on the road because they don't have the headlights, they don't have plates,
Mhm.
they don't have turn signals. Neither do those scooters.
The-
So why are those scooters
yeah, but,
allowed on the road?
but neither does a bicycle. And bicycles are allowed on the road as well.
True.
I don't technically know the law behind the dirt bikes and ATVs with regards as to why they can't be on the roadway. I mean, I understand it's because they don't have the taillight, headlight, turn signals, mirrors.
But a
there's something that
bicycle's
sets
not
them apart.
motorized like the scooters are. So I would think that they
Understood.
would be counted.
Now, the scooters do have a headlight and a taillight. I do know
Oh.
that. They do have lights on them.
I've only been on it once, and
Yeah, I think you can alter the other vehicles as well to probably be compliant with
Oh,
some
sure.
of the rules.
Dirt
but,
bikes and ATVs.
but
could
none
be
of these
road
that
vehicles.
we're referring to have any of those things.
No.
So
Yeah, not
they
at
have
all.
no business being on the road. So
Well, that's my grumpy old Iron Man addition to my potpourri. and,
clearly still a little grumpy from the race,
yes,
tired,
Yeah, tired.
worn out. Yeah.
Certainly. But I will toss it over to Special K, who's going to grace us with her inclusion into today's free for all.
well, I have some good news to share with everybody. We have
Yay.
a wonderful Cinderella story.
Yay.
So in
Wow.
just a few short years, Joe Biden's son Hunter went from crackhead who was combing the carpet for crumbs of Parmesan cheese to smoke to Michelangelo. He's now selling paintings
I hear
that
he's
are
quite
going.
the artist.
Yeah, these paintings are going for like $500,000 a pop.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Is it not funny that no? Forget it.
Well, the White House, in an effort to promote transparency, since they're the most transparent administration ever, they are going to keep the buyers of Hunter Biden's artwork anonymous. So that way,
You don't know who's buying
Yeah,
access
you
to our
don't-
president. Very good.
yes.
Yes, that
So-
seems about normal.
Yep, now we can't keep track of who's buying these paintings and seeing if they get any undue influence with our government. And Hunter Biden actually came out today, or it's being reported on today. He was on a podcast, maybe he was on it yesterday, but his response to all of the people who are critical of this setup is F them. So,
Well, that's surprising coming from someone with such high moral standards.
Yes.
yeah,
I'm actually just taken aback by
I'm-
that.
I don't even take any issue with it. I'm inclined to agree with them. You know?
Well, I don't know how you go from not being an artist to like discovering your artistic. How old is he now? He's
think
gotta
about
be in his
50, around 50.
Yeah. 50 years later, you discover your artistic abilities.
Isn't he doing mostly blow art? Like putting.
Maybe.
I think that's a specialty.
No.
I haven't heard it.
where
called
the
that,
where the
but
paint
sure.
where the paint's on the canvas and he uses a straw to like
Yeah.
blow it around the canvas and whatnot. I mean, I've seen videos of him doing that.
I heard it's a lot
Yeah.
of ski portraits. He's doing a
Really?
lot of
So
skiing.
it's kind of like the Jackson Pollock where he's just flicking the paint drops on
Uh-huh.
there too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Wow. Yeah. No, I didn't know that it was
So-
blow art, but totally makes sense.
Yes.
That's what I'm calling it now.
couldn't be more appropriate.
Brings
for
that one full circle,
individual.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Wow. No, I was unaware of that, but that is very exciting. Any other updates on him and his artistic, newly found artistic abilities?
No, he just has a couple of art shows that they're doing now. We're not allowed to know who's coming to buy the paintings or who's putting them on for him. And, you know, if you
I had
ask any
heard-
question, no further questions. F you.
Yeah, I had heard that you weren't permitted to have any discussions whatsoever with his dad in the event you were one person that bought the painting, but yet you wouldn't know who bought the painting because they're not allowed to really discuss that. But what's interesting is the only people invited to the gallery were also invited to, I think, a cocktail party beforehand.
Interesting.
So
That the president will be in attendance?
I don't know about him being in attendance, but it seems as if those people were at the cocktail party and then they went to the gallery. It'd be pretty easy to know
Who the buyers are?
who the buyers
Potential, at least
are,
potential buyers.
Maybe. I don't know. Just my thought on it. But the whole thing is
It smells. It reeks.
it reeks of something that is not on the up and up.
I don't know why you guys are being such negative Nancy's about it. I think it's fantastic he found a new hobby, something to do to occupy his time.
I'm just hoping in like 5 years, one day I pick up a paintbrush and I'm like, I had no idea I had this ability. And then I start painting these beautiful portraits and sell them for, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm excited.
I'm getting you both a Hunter Biden blow art painting for Christmas.
Yes.
So
We need one for
don't
the
ask
studio.
for that for Santa because
we need
I call
one.
dibs.
We've got a couple of spaces left on the studio walls. We could throw that up there.
We could throw it right next to our Roger Stone portrait.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what I'm really happy about because it's been such a long year and a half, almost more than that now. And I am so excited that we finally have some certainty when it comes to masks and vaccines. I mean, we've been waiting for all this time. And, I know there was some confusion early on.
The science was evolving.
Science was evolving, as our friend Nancy says, science. It's all about the science. And we've now finally got to that point where we know exactly what to expect, when we should or shouldn't wear a mask, whether you're vaccinated, not vaccinated. It's so clear. In fact, I was able to pull together a recent clip here of a number of different professional science people telling us about how certain they really are as far as whether we should or shouldn't be wearing a mask. So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to just throw that out there. Have a listen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll allow it.
There's a lot of confusion among people and misinformation surrounding face masks. Can you discuss that?
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
Okay.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really
No.
closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to
Awesome.
be walking
No
around
mask.
with a mask.
No mask. Whoa.
That someone who is a vaccinated person who develops an infection, a so-called breakthrough infection, could be carrying the same viral load, the same amount of virus in their nose or mouth, as someone who is an unvaccinated infected individual. So vaccinated, infected, unvaccinated, infected, they may carry the same amount of virus.
I am confused.
Nor
What's the
this
point?
new guidance comes after the CDC reviewed its own guidance on this issue and concluded there is some value to covering your face even if you don't have any symptoms. But with masks in short supply,
But I thought
they're
no mask.
encouraging people to make cloth masks
Oh.
at home.
Cloth mask. Okay.
I like the word
We
diapers.
have all longed for this moment when we can get back to some sense of normalcy. Today, CDC is updating our guidance for fully vaccinated people. Anyone who is fully vaccinated can participate in indoor and outdoor activities, large or small, without wearing a mask or physical distancing.
Finally.
Right.
Thank
so
you.
no mask. Okay.
And unfortunately warrants an
Oh.
update to our
Wait a
recommendation.
minute.
Unvaccinated individuals should get vaccinated and continue masking until they are fully vaccinated.
What?
In areas with substantial and high transmission, CDC recommends fully vaccinated people wear masks in public indoor settings to help prevent the spread of the Delta variant and protect others.
All right. Well, that was pretty clear to me.
It's
I think I know where we're at.
Clear as mud.
Yeah. So you don't wear a mask if you have a large viral
Load.
but if you do wear a mask, you don't need to wear a mask unless you wear two masks, and then you can. Wait a minute. I might have to go back and
Well,
listen
if you're-
again.
I'm not sure what just happened.
I don't know. Seemed to be some conflicting.
They didn't address is the 15-minute grace period Is that still a thing with the Delta variant? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know, but
Where you can pull your mask down and then you have a 15-minute grace period before you
before you have to put
transmit
it
the
back
virus.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the virus in your body knows whether or not your nostrils are covered, and then once they
Well,
are uncovered, it starts a 15-minute
but
countdown.
the CDC
then
has
comes out.
been very
Is that-
clear, except for before you didn't have to wear a mask. Now you need to wear a mask if you're on the map, and you got to be in the right spot on the map. And then if you're not on that spot, you don't have to wear a mask. So I think I just think they've cleared it up.
Right.
I think it all makes sense. And
you can have the same amount of virus whether or not you've been vaccinated or not. I think they said that too.
yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
But we should all definitely still get our vaccine though.
Oh, for sure. This is, I know we're being highly sarcastic, but this is my beef for the Free for All Friday. Can somebody please stop contradicting yourself? I would rather have, as much as I think I hated wearing a mask, and the vaccine's a whole other story, but I hated wearing the mask. Why can't we get somebody to just give us some guidance that is actually consistent? And don't tell me it's the science, because science doesn't necessarily change every 24 hours. It doesn't evolve. It's science. If it is science, it should stay constant. But what are we doing? Every day, every week, there's a new rule. And spare me, Fauci, spare me with your whatever TV show you can show up on and change your opinion. I mean, what is going on? It's becoming so difficult to trust anything in any news outlet, anything that's being told to us, because it's always different. It changes. It's constantly, and it's not evolving in a progressive way. It's evolving in a way that nobody's listening. Yet they still want us to take the vaccine. They're actually hoping that by, I guess, telling people you're going to have to wear a mask even if you have the vaccine, is that going to increase the amount of people that want to get the vaccine? Or is that going to be nothing more than you'd be an idiot to say, well, now that I know I get to wear a mask, I'll definitely take the vaccine. I mean,
Truthfully, I think it's a way to get the people who are vaccinated to start shaming the unvaccinated. That, hey, if you go get vaccinated, then all of us can take our face masks off. It's because not enough people. And I don't like that. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I think it's another way for them to usher in this social pressure and coercion to get the persuadables.
But is it that, or is it instead the vaccine's not working as well as they had originally said it worked? And when you look back at those numbers and the 90% and this and that, you have to ask yourself, how much testing was done to get to that 90% number, or that 75% number? They were developing the vaccine, yet during the development period, there were, I don't know how many people were in the test samples or how they do that, but we've got a lot more data now looking 6 months forward from the beginning of the year as to whether or not the vaccine is truly working. Is this yet another question or another just directive that we're supposed to believe that, it's the Delta variant, or is it really possibly that the vaccine isn't working as well as they said it was going to? And that's why we need to mask up again. But of course, then we're back to the question is, do the mask even work? And then we say, well, Fauci said, of course, we don't need a mask. But then he said, oh, of course, we do need a mask. So what the hell are we supposed to do?
Fauci has said that he will only lie to us when it's in his own best interest to do so.
Well, and that is a good time to lie. I mean, if you're going to lie, make sure it's in your best interest.
Yeah.
So now, wait, weren't there also studies done? This is to further your earlier comment, Drew, that mask, no mask, same transmission rates in different communities.
Well,
communities that had masks versus communities that didn't wear masks predominantly.
For sure.
They had similar issues, similar spread. And so that comes down to, did the mask really work? And I don't know the science. I don't read all the science, but here, my real problem, let's just say, okay, science, the science changes. We learn new things every day, which is great. Then stop pushing a vaccine on me and telling me that the science behind that hasn't changed one bit since day one.
Well, then, and we don't know if it's changed or not. So the way I look at this, the reason why the CDC has changed their position yet again on whether or not you need to wear a mask if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated is either one of three things. It's either the numbers aren't truly what they said they were in terms of the effectiveness of the vaccine, or it's the shaming aspect. If we shame enough people that don't want to get vaccinated, eventually they'll come around. That's another possible theory.
Okay.
Or it's just a situation where, again, there's so little consistency in what we're being told, and there's so little consistency. You say the science, I call it like as things evolve, they're seeing different things than they saw before, and they're erring on the side of being too cautious or more cautious than being less cautious and saying, well, no, we're the CDC, we're going to say you don't have to wear a mask. And then if it comes back later that you were supposed to wear a mask, then they look bad. They look like they take the fall for it. So are they trying, extra hard to put in some precautions to more protect them and their reputation than what needs to be there?
What reputation is there left for the CDC
There's
to protect
not
after the Tuskegee experiment? I just don't think the CDC really cares that much about whether or not they look bad, and they
I'm
seem
just
to
happy that
move on pretty quick.
All of the tests have borne out that the vaccination has no effect on children's reproductive capabilities.
Yeah, studies have shown.
That,
yeah,
that the whole 8 months that it's been out.
Yeah,
those 12 and 13-year-olds, we know it hasn't affected.
That's some good research.
They do not have fertility issues later in life.
I think it's just all ridiculous.
Well, can I propose a fourth theory here that just maybe, the numbers have gone up the way they have, and this whole talk of the Delta variant has gone up the way that it has because we're releasing people into the United States that have come from across the border and just maybe might have corona. I mean, I'm sure they're very healthy as they cross the border, haven't eaten for weeks, have been trafficked over, probably aren't really consistent on their vitamins, probably don't do a lot of exercise and eat right.
How dare you?
I mean, the sad part of this is outside of how horrific that's being handled and just the atrocities to human beings as they come there, and that's a whole 5-episode show, but the reality is these people are being, and this is not coming from my opinion, it's been absolutely broadcast that these people are being moved into different areas throughout the United States, are not vaccinated, and are infected with COVID. But could that have some impact at all? Or is this just all those unvaccinated people running around spreading corona to people that have taken the vaccine? But wait a minute, that would keep you from getting it.
Would it?
Well, did you have a mask on?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't remember.
If you would have had a mask on,
I just know that with the mask,
2 masks
or the vaccine, I
sure,
could still carry and transmit the same viral load as somebody without a vaccine or a mask.
The point of the matter is, does anybody believe anything? Or is everything you're hearing now, for a person that thinks independently, practically, just common sense, does that person, every time they hear whatever comes and is spewed out of the mouth of any of these people we consider, quote, experts, how many people in the back of their head are going, bullshit?
Yeah, I think they're just rolling their eyes.
They're rolling their eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, they've lost all credibility to the extent that at this point, I just don't think that any of this stuff will work. I mean, you're not going to get people to wear masks again especially in certain parts of the country. I'm in Florida half the time. I can tell you, good luck in Florida getting anybody to put a mask on again. And not to mention that DeSantis is not, buying into this. And I can't explain why the numbers, have magically in Florida just been, through the roof. I was just there. I didn't see one person with a mask on, and I didn't see anybody sick, and I haven't heard of anybody sick out of a large group of people that I know there. So I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's not possible people are getting sick, but remember, we're talking about numbers, case numbers. What does that mean? Case numbers. It doesn't mean death. It doesn't mean sick. It doesn't mean symptoms. It's just a number. Because you go
positive, yeah.
It means nothing. But we're back on it again. We're right where we started. Oh, how many numbers? Let's watch the numbers. What numbers are we watching? Oh, the number of infections. Well, what does that infection mean? Does it mean you get sick? Does it mean you have symptoms? Does it mean you go to the hospital? No. It's the numbers. We're keeping an eye on the numbers. I mean, this is being used, continues to be used to just strip the rights away from us one right at a time, and people are just letting it happen.
It's the frog in boiling water analogy. They say you can't throw a frog into a pot of boiling water because it'll get scalded and jump right out. But if you put a frog into room temperature water and slowly, incrementally increase the temperature, the frog won't notice the little changes and then it boils to death. And there were people last spring when all of this started that were initially saying, hey, it's not going to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Historically, governments don't relinquish your rights back to you once they've taken them
Not to
from
mention,
you.
how many times do governments get anything done in 2 weeks?
Right.
Let's
Good
be
point on
realistic
that,
here.
too. But yeah, everybody mocked those people and they're, oh, my rights, my rights. And here we are a year and a half later, and it clearly wasn't 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
I mean, is anybody as concerned as I am that, remember the timeline? I mean, it's August almost. So we're moving back into the school year. We're moving back into definitely some scenarios where you're going to have more people crowded in certain areas, which just kind of plays into the, at least, you know, if you believe the science, that's going to make the numbers go up. And again, let's remember what the numbers are. The numbers aren't deaths and hospitalizations or their cases, but nonetheless, I have this terrible nightmare that we're going to see it all over again. It's just another round that's looming out there, and they're taking the small steps to get us there. And it all starts with the mask. I mean, that's where it started before, right? It was, you know, we don't need masks, and all of a sudden we needed masks, and then we needed to shut down businesses, and
we needed the dots on the floor in the grocery store.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that I'm completely wrong on this, and I hope that in 3 months they're done talking about the Delta variant or whatever. But my fear is they've got a taste of this, how to control, how to take away certain rights, how to, you know, keep themselves in the position they want to be in. And if we can keep working that narrative the right way, I mean, worst thing that can happen is some people are going to be upset. And since Trump was in office before, you obviously had a lot of people upset that went and voiced that at the Capitol, and then that got out of control. But nonetheless, it's just never ending. It seems like this is the new path instead of trying to find a real solution and trying to be realistic and keeping things consistent as you can be. We're on another planet.
Well, there's so much to unpack with that. We'll have to circle back on this topic, and it'll probably be in a 5-part series down the road to talk about a lot of these issues, because
I don't think it's going away.
No, for sure it's not.
I mean, and for the CDC, again, I'm not blessing them with the credibility that they don't deserve, but I am going to say that for them to come back on what they initially said, you know, this is the day we've all been waiting for, as you heard in the clip, and the vaccine it works. It's 100%, you know, not 100%, but it works. You know, there's no doubt about it. It works. And you don't need a mask anymore. And then all of a sudden, well,
it doesn't work.
I don't know if it works.
You do need a mask, but you're a bad person if you don't get the vaccine that there's no liability for. If the science then evolves and we find out there are bad side effects to the vaccine, nobody's liable for that. But you're a bad person if you don't take it.
It just blows my mind. And this map thing scared me too. When they brought out the map, what did that remind you of? Do you remember the county map, the green, purple, whatever DeWine came up with the different areas? And I'm thinking, oh boy, we're back to the maps.
Yep.
You know, what area are you in? What business can be open? What business can be closed?
Yeah. To what degree?
And what degree? Yeah. Unreal.
There was also another thing. It's actually from 2020, I found out, but it's still on the CDC website. So it's a recommendation that's on there that they can always revert back to whenever they want to. But it says to kind of mark certain areas of the community with different houses where you would force the unvaccinated people to live in those specific houses within their neighborhood and separate them from their families. So that way you can help prevent the spread that way too. So I hope that recommendation doesn't get drug up from the CDC's website, but it's there if anybody wants to go find it.
Well, I didn't know that. I'll take a look at that. That's interesting. But to lighten the load here a little, maybe a little lighthearted humor. This just popped up on my news feed. Aide hands Biden note during governor's meeting, something on your chin. It says it's a handwritten note from an aide telling him there's something on your chin. I'm trying to see what it is that's on his chin.
A little mustard.
Yeah, Yeah, I can't really tell from this photo, but who knows? Maybe it's some ice cream from the night before. He apparently really likes that ice cream.
Could be pudding.
Pudding, yep.
Pudding pops.
Or is it tapioca? What does he eat?
I don't know.
It says a small orange object. Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see it in the picture here. Yikes. What is that? Looks like a Frito. Or maybe, actually, it might be a Dorito. Here, have a look.
Just
What do you think?
Dorito.
Is that a Dorito chip?
Yeah,
Oh, my
Cheeto dust
goodness.
on there.
That is hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Oh, well, that's a good laugh. We needed that after that, super serious conversation, especially when you're talking about
Free for all Friday.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we got on the confetti today.
Yes.
Potpourri, man.
Potpourri confetti. But anyway, well, we really are putting together putting together.
We're putting together,
putting together
a whole new season.
I was at the Hillbilly Olympics last week.
That's probably
so,
what
yeah.
it was.
We're putting together a new season, and we are really excited about it. We're going to have some, I think, audience participation that's going to be fun, like our giveaway, which we're not going to give out right now and tell what it is, but we're going to be doing a giveaway for subscribers. Just a lot of things that we're going to move in, incorporate into the next season. So more to come on that, as well as the first date upon which we will embark on the season 4 adventure. But we don't have it yet. We know it'll be in August, and we'll keep you updated on that. Otherwise, you can find this podcast and all of our other podcasts on all the podcast forums out there, including iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Verbal, and the like. As far as the YouTube video, it'll also be up here shortly. And Matt, what do you like telling people to do if they can, if they don't mind?
We'd really love it if you smash that subscribe button on our
Smash it.
YouTube page.
Smash it.
Hit like, hit subscribe. You'll get all of our content. It'll come straight to you, give you notices when we upload new information, new content. Would love to have you on there. So subscribe to the channel.
That's right.
SOL Legal Podcast
Legal
if you're searching for it.
podcast. Legal podcast. Anything out of you, Special K, before we embark onto a new weekend?
Nope. This has been fun and looking forward to season 4.
Yeah, me too. Iron Man, you got anything? No Iron Mans this weekend?
No, not this weekend. We're gonna take a break.
I think that's probably a good idea. I think you've earned it.
Yeah.
You've earned it. Well, I'm not doing anything this weekend if I can avoid it, other than maybe...
You've been the real vagabond recently.
I have. I'm kind of sick of traveling. That's why I decided to go to the Grand Canyon in like a week. So
You're sick of driving, so I'm going to drive
So I'm
to
gonna
the
drive
Grand
to the Grand
Canyon.
Oh, boy. All right.
You're a special kind.
I am a special breed. All right. Until next time, I am Shake and Bake signing off on the SOL podcast.
Thank you for listening to SOL. Join us next time on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and iTunes. For additional information or questions related to your legal matter, contact the Baker Law Group at 614-228-1882. That's 614-228-1882. Be safe, know your rights, and follow the law. This podcast is adjourned.